100 million to 0, Agent Strzok? That's how bad she should win?
Mr. Gowdy, those personal expressions of my observing the political process of the presidential primaries had no bearing on my actions of any investigation, to include the investigation of Secretary Clinton.
You couldn't think of
or anybody else. Sir,
you couldn't think of a single person that would not vote for Hillary Clinton for president? 100 million to 0,
Sir,
Agent Strzok?
Sir, that was clearly hyperbole, which I...
Well, let's say it was hyperbole. Let's divide it by 10. How about we say it was hyperbolic and divide it by 10? 100 million divided by 10, I'm pretty sure is 10 million. 0 divided by 10 is still 0. You couldn't think of a single solitary person that was going to vote for her for president before you interviewed her and while you were supposed to be investigating her.
Congressman, clearly that's not the truth. Clearly I could envision millions of Americans who are likely and did vote for then candidate.
Well, you wrote it.
My point, sir.
Did you write it? Did you write that text?
I did write that, sir.
Okay. Were you under duress?
Political expression engaging in hyperbole.
Were you under duress?
Asked and answered over and over again.
The gentlewoman will suspend. The gentleman from South Carolina controls the time.
All right, we're going to go into one other time period. May 17th, 2017, Bob Mueller is appointed. Your friend Jim Comey's been fired. He's already leaked the memos to his law professor friend, and Mueller is special counsel. Do you remember how long it took for you to start talking about impeachment after Bob Mueller was appointed?
I don't, sir.
1 day. 1 day. And you were talking about impeachment. And for anyone who may have missed it the day after his appointment, Agent Strzok, you did it again 5 days later. Now, how many interviews had you done as part of the special counsel team within the first 5 days of his appointment?
Sir, again, same answer as before. I can't get into details.
Right, and the answer is also the same. It's 0. No interviews had been done.
I don't know if that's true or not.
No interviews had been done by August the 8th, when you're talking about stopping him and how terrifying it would be for him to win and how you can protect the country. And no interviews had been done before you're talking about impeachment of the president. But no wonder Chairman, Bob Mueller kicked you off of the investigation, Agent Strzok. My question is, if you were kicked off when he read the text, shouldn't you have been kicked off when you wrote them?
Not at all.
Well, it wasn't the discovery of your text, Mr. Strzok. It was the existence of your bias that got you kicked off.
No, Mr. Gowdy, it wasn't. I do not have bias. My personal opinions in no way.
Well, then why did you get kicked off? Why'd you get kicked off?
Mr. Gowdy, my understanding of why I was kicked off was that based on an understanding of those texts and the perception that they might create is something that
hang on a second, Agent Strzok. Hang on a second. Perception.
Integrity.
You're saying it was the perception. There are 13 Democrats on the special counsel probe, including one who went to what he hoped was a victory party. That's a perception problem, too. They weren't kicked off. You were. Why were you kicked off?
Mr. Gowdy, I cannot speak to Special Counsel Mueller's
How long did you talk to him?
The reasons why he did or didn't.
How long did you talk to him when he let you go?
Witness answer the question.
Witness will be afforded the opportunity to answer the question if there is a question he wants to answer after Mr. Gowdy's time.
My recollection, it was a short meeting, somewhere between 15 to 30 minutes, probably around 15 minutes.
And your testimony is Bob Mueller did not kick you off because of the content of your text. He kicked you off because of some appearance that he was worried about.
Sure. My testimony, what you asked and what I responded to, was that he kicked me off because of my bias. I'm stating to you it is not my understanding that he kicked me off because of any bias, that it was done based on the appearance. If you want to represent what you said accurately, I'm happy to answer that question, but I don't appreciate what was originally said being changed.
I don't give a damn what you appreciate, Agent Strzok. I don't appreciate having an FBI agent with an unprecedented level of animus working on 2 major investigations during 2016.
The chair recognizes the gentleman from Maryland, Mr. Cummings.
Point of order,
Mr. Chairman, can I respond to
answer the questions that you promised him he would have an opportunity to answer? We endured 15 minutes of badgering of the witness. Can he be allowed now to answer as you promised, Mr. Chairman?
The gentleman will suspend. The witness at any time can ask for additional time to respond to any member's question if the time has been
You
ended.
said you were going to give him that opportunity at the end.
I am giving him that opportunity.
Mr. Chairman, may I respond to?
Yes, you may.
Yes, Sir Gowdy. Sir, I think it's important when you look at those texts that you understand the context in which they were made and the things that were going on across America. In terms of the text that we will stop it, you need to understand that that was written late at night, off the cuff, and it was in response to a series of events that included then candidate Trump insulting the immigrant family of a fallen war hero. And my presumption, based on that horrible, disgusting behavior, that the American population would not elect somebody demonstrating that behavior to be president of the United States. It was in no way, unequivocally, any suggestion that me, the FBI, would take any action whatsoever to improperly impact the electoral process for any candidate. So I take great offense and I take great disagreement to your assertion of what that was or wasn't. As to the 100 million to one, that was clearly a statement made in jest and using hyperbole. I, of course, recognize that millions of Americans were likely to vote for candidate Trump. I acknowledge that is absolutely their right. That is what makes our democracy such a vibrant process that it is. But to suggest somehow that we can parse down the words of shorthand textual conversations like there's some contract for a car is simply not consistent with my or most people's use of text messaging. I can assure you, Mr. Chairman, at no time in any of these texts did those personal beliefs ever enter into the realm of any action I took. Furthermore, this isn't just me sitting here telling you, you don't have to take my word for it. At every step, at every investigative decision, there are multiple layers of people above me, the assistant director, executive assistant director, deputy director, and director of the FBI, and multiple layers of people below me, section chiefs, supervisors, unit chiefs, case agents, and analysts, all of whom were involved in all of these decisions. They would not tolerate any improper behavior in me any more than I would tolerate it in them. That is who we are as the FBI. And the suggestion that I, in some dark chamber somewhere in the FBI, would somehow cast aside all of these procedures, all of these safeguards, and somehow be able to do this is astounding to me. It simply couldn't happen. And the proposition that that is going on, that it might occur anywhere in the FBI, deeply corrodes what the FBI is in American society, the effectiveness of their mission, and it is deeply destructive.
Mr. Chairman, I have a motion. I have a Rule 11 motion, Mr. Chairman. Clause 2. I move to subpoena Steve Bannon. Mr. Bannon was a witness in the House Intelligence Committee investigation. He was under subpoena. He refused to answer questions by Mr. Gowdy.
The gentleman is not recognized. The chair recognizes. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Maryland, Mr.
Chairman, a motion is always in order. A motion is always in order, Mr. Chairman. It's Rule 11, Clause 2.
I will yield to Ms. Swalwell for 1 minute.
Mr. Chairman, I move to subpoena Steve Bannon. In our House Intelligence investigation, he was under subpoena. He refused a number of times to answer questions of Mr. Gowdy. Mr. Gowdy appears to have a sincere interest in getting to the bottom of what happened, and so I move under Rule 11 to bring Mr. Bannon to this committee. Also, Mr. Chairman is in receipt of Devin Nunes's letter to our committee recommending that the Judiciary Committee continue on the House Intelligence Committee's investigation into Russia and recommended witnesses. So I move now for consideration for Mr. Bannon to be subpoenaed. And if he refuses, for contempt proceedings to occur.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman,
chair recognizes
I object to consideration of the motion that is being made.
And I yield back to Mr. Cummings. But the motion has to be heard immediately, Mr. Chairman, under
Mr. Chairman,
Rule 11,
I
Clause 2.
object.
Gentlemen, suspend.
So what are we doing with it? Debatable? It's not germane.
The motion is not germane, and the gentleman from Maryland, Mr. Cummings,
I move to table the ruling of the chair.
Appeal the ruling.
I move to overrule the ruling of the chair.
Mr. Chairman, I move to table the motion.
Motion been made to table the appeal of the ruling of the chair. All those in favor of tabling the appeal respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no.
No.
In the chair, the ayes have
Mr.
it.
Chairman, I ask for a recorded vote.
Point of
I ask for a
parliamentary
recorded
inquiry.
vote.
Mr. Chairman, point of parliamentary inquiry.
Gentleman will state his point of parliamentary.
On the vote to table, or for that matter, on the vote to appeal the ruling of the chair, do we take separate votes of the two committees, or one vote of everything?
My understanding was that both you and Mr. Cummings were satisfied with one roll call vote.
I just,
But we'll go through each committee in order. and then we'll take the cumulative vote after the conclusion of both committees.
I just wanted to clarify that point.
Mr. Chairman, I had asked for a recorded vote.
The recorded vote has been requested, and the clerk will call the roll. The question is on the motion to table the appeal of the ruling of the chair. The clerk for the Judiciary Committee will commence.
Mr. Goodlatte?
Aye.
Mr. Goodlatte votes aye. Mr.